It began with faint but consistent signals detected by satellites orbiting Earth. Initially dismissed as cosmic noise, the patterns soon revealed themselves to be precise and calculated. Within days, governments around the world scrambled to decipher their meaning. These were transmissions similar to Venus in advanced and heading toward Earth. Not long after, enormous crafts breached the atmosphere, their silhouettes dominating the skies above major cities and remote landscapes alike. Hovering in ominous silence, they became a source of fear and chaos as panic spread like wildfire. The alien scouts had arrived. These extraterrestrial visitors defied the expectations of fiction. They were not the violent invaders imagined in Hollywood's tales. There were no immediate attacks, no attempts at communication. Their actions were clinical, methodical, as if Earth were nothing more than a specimen to be studied. Their technology, far beyond human comprehension, left scientists and strategists baffled. Observers watched as the alien craft scanned cities and structures with beams of light, seemingly unaffected by Earth's atmosphere or gravity. It quickly became clear they were not here in peace. The silence of their presence was more unsettling than any spoken threat, a harbinger of something far more sinister. World leaders convened emergency summits, desperate to formulate a united response. Scientists, military strategists, and intelligence agencies were thrust into a maelstrom of uncertainty, tasked with solving a puzzle that felt insurmountable. The global message was unambiguous. Humanity needed to act, even if the means to do so were far from clear. Conventional defenses seemed hopelessly inadequate against an enemy that had yet to even raise its hand. Fighter jets roared into the skies, missile systems were primed, and battalions were placed on high alert. Yet, beneath the bravado, an uneasy truth lingered. What could Earth's military do against a force capable of interstellar travel? As the alien scouts moved methodically across the planet, they seemed utterly indifferent to humanity's displays of power. Fighter jets were swiftly grounded by mysterious pulses that fried their electronics in an instant. Missiles veered off course or disarmed mid-flight, as if controlled by an unseen hand. On the ground, cities held their breath as troops mobilized, tanks rumbling through streets with barrels aimed skyward, awaiting the order to fire. But the scouts remained coldly detached, hovering above with an indifference that was almost insulting, as though humanity's resistance wasn't worth their notice. Reports began to flood in from around the world. Wherever the scouts passed, technology failed, cars stalled, power grids collapsed, and communication systems went silent. Strange, EMP-like pulses emanated from the alien crafts, rendering even the most advanced systems useless. Despite the mounting chaos, the aliens made no direct moves against the population. Instead, they carried on their eerie mission, scanning landscapes, infrastructure, and occasionally groups of people. It was clear they were gathering data, but to what end? Military strategists quickly realized the scale of the problem. Every conventional tactic was neutralized before it could even be executed. Bombing runs proved futile as aircraft were grounded long before reaching their targets. Tanks couldn't approach without being disabled, and drones sent as disposable reconnaissance were immediately neutralized. The alien scouts operated with surgical precision, dismantling humanity's defenses without a single offensive strike. The alien scouts did not retaliate. They didn't need to. Their mere presence was enough to dismantle every human effort. Frustration mounted as humanity's greatest weapons, the pinnacle of military innovation, were rendered useless, reduced to scrap metal and shattered pride. As hours turned to days, fear gave way to desperation. Doing nothing was no longer an option. Commanders, desperate for a breakthrough, turned to unconventional tactics, hoping to exploit some unseen vulnerability. Soldiers were deployed into zones where technology had failed, armed with low-tech equipment, rifles, grenades, and anything that didn't rely on electronics. Yet the alien scouts remained unbothered, their movements steady and methodical. Gunfire ricocheted harmlessly off their impenetrable shields and even the insurmountable wall, one they had no idea how to scale. The civilian population fared no better. Panic rippled through cities, as people abandoned homes and belongings in frantic evacuations. Shelters overflowed, offering little comfort beneath the ominous presence of the crafts overhead. Governments struggled to maintain control as riots erupted in regions hardest hit by technological failures. News networks broadcast grim updates, and rumors of humanity's impending doom spread like wildfire. If humanity couldn't fight back, what would come next? Amid the turmoil, a glimmer of hope emerged. In a remote region, a small group of soldiers began noticing something unusual. Unlike other vehicles rendered useless by the scouts' pulses, their older, low-tech equipment continued to function. It was a faint signal of possibility in a sea of despair, one that might hold the key to humanity's survival. These rugged, all-terrain vehicles, built with basic mechanics, remained operational despite the alien EMPs. It was a small discovery, nearly dismissed as a coincidence. But in the face of overwhelming defeat, even the faintest glimmer of hope became significant. The military quickly shifted resources, deploying these vehicles, nicknamed Humvees, to key zones for further testing. The decision wasn't born from a grand strategy, but sheer desperation. Yet, this move would lay the groundwork for one of humanity's most unexpected advantages. For the first time, the alien scouts didn't completely ignore Earth's forces. In scattered incidents, Humvees managed to approach the scouts without being disabled, a puzzling anomaly that didn't escape notice. Military analysts began scrutinizing every interaction, searching for clues as to why these vehicles could operate where others failed. Though this breakthrough was minor, it sparked a shift in strategy. If HUMs could withstand the alien EMPs, perhaps they could be used to gather vital intelligence, or even engage the scouts directly. This wasn't about defeating the aliens. Not yet. The immediate goal was survival, to learn, adapt, and buy enough time to understand the enemy. But even as this fragile hope emerged, a chilling question loomed. How long before the scouts decided to strike back? Humanity's initial wave of defense had relied heavily on advanced military technology. Jet fighters, armed drones, and missile systems formed the first line of resistance. Governments operated under the assumption that overwhelming firepower would force the alien scouts to acknowledge humanity's capabilities. But this strategy backfired almost immediately. The alien technology was not only far more advanced but seemed impervious to conventional weapons. Missiles were intercepted and neutralized mid-flight, often before even nearing their targets. High-speed jets lost control and crashed, their navigation systems rendered useless by invisible disruptions. Within moments, it became painfully clear humanity's most sophisticated tools were wholly inadequate. Aerial combat against the alien crafts quickly proved futile. The extraterrestrial ships moved with unmatched speed and precision, effortlessly dodging projectiles. Even radar systems struggled to track them as their signatures flickered in and out, leaving pilots disoriented and vulnerable. Without reliable communication or functioning weaponry, Earth's Air Force was effectively grounded within hours. The initial confidence in human innovation's ability to contend with extraterrestrial intelligence crumbled into frustration and fear. Ground forces faced even steeper challenges. Tanks, often considered the backbone of modern warfare, became little more than cumbersome, stranded targets. The alien scouts emitted powerful pulses that instantly disabled the electronics within these armored vehicles, rendering them useless. Attempts to deploy heavy artillery fared no better. Shells detonated harmlessly against the invisible shields surrounding the alien crafts, often failing to even reach their targets. Every maneuver by the ground forces seemed not only ineffective, but anticipated, as if the aliens had calculated and neutralized every possible countermeasure. Despite the growing list of failures, the military turned to alternative tactics. Infantry units were deployed in large numbers, armed with simpler, more rudimentary equipment. Soldiers carried rifles and grenades, advancing cautiously on foot, as vehicles were easily disabled. Yet even this low-tech approach was futile. Bullets ricocheted harmlessly off the alien crafts, and explosives had no more effect than throwing stones at a fortress. The alien scouts, for their part, remained eerily indifferent. They displayed no signs of retaliation or aggression, continuing their systematic exploration, as if humanity's resistance was beneath their notice. Desperation began driving experimental approaches, as Earth's defenders sought any edge, however slim, to adapt and fight back against an enemy that seemed untouchable. In one instance, the military launched a coordinated assault, combining aerial, ground, and artillery forces in a simultaneous attack, hoping to overwhelm the aliens with sheer numbers. However, this strategy only served to further highlight the scouts' superior technology. They neutralized multiple targets effortlessly, often without any visible exertion. EMP pulses blanketed entire zones, leaving soldiers stranded and communication systems offline. The alien crafts didn't need to engage in direct combat. They simply rendered all human attempts at resistance obsolete. As the scouts advanced across continents, their indifference to Earth's defenses became increasingly evident. They ignored direct confrontations, focusing instead on their mysterious objectives. Their movements were methodical, pausing occasionally to scan human structures, infrastructure, and natural landscapes. They emitted beams of light that left no visible traces, but seemed to serve a distinct purpose. Analysts speculated the scouts were gathering data, but their ultimate goal remained an enigma. The repeated failures of Earth's defenses took a devastating toll on morale. Soldiers who had initially faced the situation with resolve now felt helpless. Civilians, watching the escalating chaos through fragmented news reports, began losing faith in their government's ability to protect them. Riots and protests erupted in major cities, fueled by fear and frustration. People demanded answers and solutions, but none were forthcoming. The alien scouts remained untouchable, their presence an unrelenting reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Amid the growing despair, some factions proposed unconventional ideas, ranging from attempts at negotiation to outright surrender. These suggestions, though controversial, reflected the desperation spreading among the populace. However, without any indication that the scouts were open to communication, such ideas were quickly dismissed. The focus remained on finding a way, any way, to counter the alien technology, no matter how insurmountable the odds seemed. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, analyzing every encounter in search of clues. Yet, with each passing hour, the chasm between human ingenuity and alien capabilities appeared to widen. Amid the chaos, small pockets of resistance continued to operate, clinging to hope and refusing to concede. These groups, driven by determination and desperation, sought any advantage, however faint, to turn the tide. Units often isolated from main command structures began experimenting with low-tech solutions. They avoided vehicles or equipment reliant on advanced electronics, opting instead for manual tools and analog systems. While these efforts didn't produce significant breakthroughs, they yielded valuable insights. For instance, it became apparent that the alien EMPs targeted specific frequencies and technologies, leaving some systems unaffected. This information, though limited, offered a faint glimmer of hope. One of the most profound realizations came from analyzing the scouts' behavior. Despite their overwhelming superiority, they had not launched a single offensive attack on human populations. This pattern suggested their mission was one of observation rather than destruction. Yet this raised an even more unsettling question. What were they preparing for? Military strategists began to suspect that the scouts were merely the first wave, gathering intelligence for a larger invasion. This theory added a sense of urgency to the desperate search for countermeasures. The absence of direct aggression provided no comfort. The scouts' mere presence continued to wreak havoc on a global scale. Cities near their flight paths experienced widespread power outages, halting transportation, commerce, and communication. Rural areas suffered just as severely, with farming equipment and irrigation systems failing, threatening food supplies. The economic impact was catastrophic. Markets crashed, resources dwindled, and humanity faced not only a technological war, but also a psychological and logistical one. The sheer scale of disruption created a global crisis that no government or institution could fully contain. Despite these overwhelming challenges, the search for solutions pressed on. Military commanders began to prioritize adaptability over brute force, encouraging creativity and resourcefulness. Teams were instructed to abandon traditional doctrines in favor of experimental approaches. This shift in strategy marked a turning point, an acknowledgement that humanity's survival hinged on thinking beyond conventional warfare and embracing unorthodox tactics in a fight unlike any they had faced before. This shift in strategy marked a turning point, though its impact was not immediately visible. The idea was simple. If advanced technology couldn't defeat the Scouts, perhaps simplicity could. During this phase, the resilience of the human spirit emerged as a defining feature. While governments and militaries struggled to maintain control, ordinary individuals found ways to adapt. Communities came together to share resources, rebuild disrupted systems, and support one another. This grassroots effort highlighted a critical strength that the alien Scouts lacked: humanity's unparalleled ability to collaborate and innovate under pressure. It was this adaptability that eventually led to a breakthrough. The introduction of Humvees into the conflict was initially viewed as a minor adjustment, a stopgap measure rather than a revolutionary tactic. These vehicles, with their robust design and mechanical simplicity, stood in stark contrast to the advanced weaponry that had failed against the alien Scouts. Tanks and other modern vehicles, heavily reliant on electronics, were easily rendered useless by the alien EMPs. However, the Humvee's core functionality remained intact, its mechanical resilience catching the attention of desperate military strategists. What made the Humvee unique wasn't its power or sophistication, but its adaptability. Designed for rugged terrains and unpredictable environments, it excelled in areas where other vehicles faltered. This versatility allowed it to navigate challenging landscapes while maintaining both mobility and functionality. Unlike advanced armored vehicles crippled by EMPs, the Humvee's simplicity became its greatest strength, a reminder that innovation doesn't always mean complexity. This shift in strategy marked a turning point, though its impact was not immediately visible. The idea was simple. If advanced technology couldn't defeat the Scouts, perhaps simplicity could. During this phase, the resilience of the human spirit emerged as a defining feature. While governments and militaries struggled to maintain control, ordinary individuals found ways to adapt. Communities came together to share resources, rebuild disrupted systems, and support one another. This grassroots effort highlighted a critical strength that the alien Scouts lacked: humanity's unparalleled ability to collaborate and innovate under pressure. It was this adaptability that eventually led to a breakthrough. The introduction of Humvees into the conflict was initially viewed as a minor adjustment, a stopgap measure rather than a revolutionary tactic. These vehicles, with their robust design and mechanical simplicity, stood in stark contrast to the advanced weaponry that had failed against the alien Scouts. Tanks and other modern vehicles, heavily reliant on electronics, were easily rendered useless by the alien EMPs. However, the Humvee's core functionality remained intact, its mechanical resilience catching the attention of desperate military strategists. What made the Humvee unique wasn't its power or sophistication, but its adaptability. Designed for rugged terrains and unpredictable environments, it excelled in areas where other vehicles faltered. This versatility allowed it to navigate challenging landscapes while maintaining both mobility and functionality. Unlike advanced armored vehicles crippled by EMPs, the Humvee's simplicity became its greatest strength, a reminder that innovation doesn't always mean complexity. The Scouts remained calculated and unhurried, but subtle changes in their behavior emerged when confronted by Humvees. They began tracking these vehicles more closely, altering their flight paths and scanning patterns in response to their presence. Analysts speculated that the Scouts were adapting, studying the Humvees to understand why they succeeded where other technologies had failed. This shift underscored the importance of maintaining the element of surprise and continually evolving tactics to stay one step ahead. The use of Humvees also emphasized the critical role of teamwork and human ingenuity. Crews operating these vehicles worked in unison, combining their skills to exploit every possible evasion. Drivers focused on maintaining speed and evasion, while gunners targeted potential weak points in the Scouts' defenses. Commanders coordinated these units with precision, leveraging their mobility to create opportunities for larger-scale operations. This collaborative approach showcased humanity's greatest strength, its ability to adapt and innovate in the face of overwhelming odds. A significant breakthrough occurred when a Humvee unit disrupted a scout's scanning process by targeting specific components with concentrated fire, forcing the craft to retreat. A first in the conflict. Though the victory was small and isolated, it proved that the scouts were not invulnerable. This incident marked a turning point, shifting the focus from mere survival to active resistance. It also reinforced the importance of continued experimentation and adaptation, as no single tactic could guarantee success against such a formidable foe. The success of Humvees inspired broader innovations across the board, sparking a renewed sense of determination. Humanity began to believe that even against an overwhelming adversary, ingenuity and resilience could pave the way to victory. Military engineers and technicians worked tirelessly to modify and enhance the Humvees, equipping them with additional armor, advanced weaponry, and even improvised shielding to counter the scouts' attacks. While not all upgrades proved effective, they demonstrated humanity's willingness to take risks and think creatively. The Humvees became more than just vehicles. They evolved into symbols of resilience and determination, embodying the spirit of a species fighting for survival. As the Humvees continued to prove their worth, their role expanded. They were no longer merely tools of the military, but became symbols of hope for both civilians and soldiers. Stories of their successes spread quickly, boosting morale and inspiring confidence in the possibility of victory. For a population grappling with fear and uncertainty, the sight of Humvees rolling into battle was a powerful reassurance. They served as tangible reminders that humanity was not defenseless, and that even the most advanced adversaries could be challenged. Despite their successes, the use of Humvees was not without risks. The scouts, now increasingly aware of these vehicles, began adapting their strategies, making each mission more perilous. Operators faced constant threats, forcing them to stay ahead by refining tactics and embracing unpredictability. Every mission carried high stakes, holding the potential for either groundbreaking breakthroughs or devastating losses. The growing reliance on Humvees also underscored the delicate balance of hope and desperation that defined humanity's resistance. While they offered a path forward, they also reminded everyone that the fight was far from over. Success would require not only ingenuity, but unwavering resolve. The growing reliance on Humvees raised important questions about sustainability. Their deployment required significant resources, including fuel, maintenance, and personnel. As the conflict dragged on, these resources became increasingly scarce, prompting difficult decisions about where and how to allocate them. Commanders faced the challenge of balancing short-term gains with long-term viability, ensuring that the Humvees could continue playing a pivotal role in the fight. This tension underscored the broader challenges of waging war against an enemy that seemed to have limitless resources and capabilities. While the use of Humvees marked a turning point in humanity's struggle against the alien scouts, they were not a perfect solution. Still, they represented a critical step forward, a demonstration that ingenuity and determination could overcome even the most daunting challenges. The lessons learned from their deployment shaped broader strategies, inspiring new approaches and innovations. The Humvees proved that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had the capacity to adapt, resist, and ultimately prevail. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, it felt winnable. This shift in strategy brought a renewed sense of purpose to military operations, transitioning the focus from isolated skirmishes to coordinated efforts, emphasizing mobility, adaptability, and strategic precision. Having proven their reliability in earlier engagements, the Humvees became the centerpiece of these operations. Specialized units were created to maximize their unique capabilities, deploying them in ways that leveraged their versatility and rugged design to counter the scouts more effectively. These units operated with precision, ensuring that humanity's counteroffensive had a clear and focused direction. With clear objectives targeting areas where the alien scouts had concentrated their efforts, the goal of humanity's resistance was no longer to overwhelm the enemy with brute force, but to outthink and outmaneuver them. Military leaders developed new tactics that played to the strengths of the Humvees. Their speed and versatility enabled hit-and-run maneuvers, that disrupted the Scouts' systematic operations. Teams used the terrain to their advantage, exploiting natural cover and narrow passages to limit the Scouts' mobility. Coordinated attacks involved multiple units working in unison, drawing the Scouts into traps or away from critical infrastructure. These tactics relied heavily on precise planning and flawless execution, as even a minor misstep could lead to catastrophic losses. The introduction of modified Humvees expanded their operational scope. Engineers worked tirelessly to enhance the vehicles, adding reinforced armor and specialized weaponry tailored to combat the alien threat. Some Humvees were equipped with high-powered railguns capable of firing lightning, and others were faster than light and could power up to 80 miles per hour of delivering concentrated firepower, while others carried advanced communication systems to maintain coordination in areas where traditional networks had failed. These modifications provided the units with an edge, allowing them to confront the Scouts more effectively and adapt to their evolving strategies. One of the most significant changes was the addition of intelligence-gathering capabilities. Humvees were outfitted with advanced sensors and recording equipment to capture data during engagements. This information provided valuable insights into the Scouts' behavior, movements, and vulnerabilities. Analysts worked around the clock to study these patterns, identifying weaknesses that could be exploited. Over time, this intelligence formed the foundation of a more comprehensive strategy, enabling the military to anticipate the Scouts' actions and respond proactively. The role of Humvee units evolved from simple resistance to proactive engagement, changing the course of the conflict. The role of the Humvee units extended beyond direct confrontation. They were also tasked with protecting critical assets, such as supply lines, communication hubs, and evacuation routes. Their presence ensured that these essential operations could continue despite the Scouts' interference. In some cases, they acted as decoys, drawing the Scouts' attention away from high-priority targets. This dual role of offense and defense made them indispensable to the overall strategy, ensuring that every mission contributed to the broader effort. As the tactics evolved, so did the morale of the forces involved. The success of the Humvee units inspired confidence among soldiers and commanders alike. For the first time, there was a sense that the Scouts could be challenged, even if victory remained uncertain. This shift in mindset had a ripple effect, boosting morale and fostering a spirit of resilience. Soldiers who had once felt powerless now believed in the possibility of success, and this newfound determination became a driving force behind every operation. However, the Scouts were not passive observers. Their behavior began to change in response to the effectiveness of the Humvees. They adapted their movements, avoiding areas where Humvee units had been deployed and focusing their efforts on less defended regions. This presented a new challenge, forcing the military to spread its resources thinner and cover a wider range of targets. Commanders had to strike a delicate balance between defending critical assets and maintaining offensive pressure. To counter this, the military implemented a decentralized command structure, giving individual units greater autonomy in decision-making. This allowed Humvee teams to operate independently, reacting quickly to the Scouts' movements without waiting for orders from central command. While this approach carried risks, it also enhanced the unit's effectiveness, enabling them to adapt to the Scouts' strategies in real time. The success of this decentralized model underscored the importance of flexibility in the face of an unpredictable enemy. The broader implications of the Humvees' success extended beyond the battlefield. Their performance demonstrated the value of unconventional thinking and highlighted the limitations of over-reliance on advanced technology. This realization prompted a re-evaluation of other aspects of the military's approach, leading to innovations in training, logistics, and resource management. Soldiers were trained to think creatively and adapt quickly, while supply chains were restructured to ensure the consistent availability of essential materials. These changes, though incremental, contributed to the overall effectiveness of the effort. One of the most notable outcomes of this period was the emergence of a sense of unity among the forces involved. The Humvees became a symbol of collective effort, representing the ingenuity and determination of everyone working toward a common goal. This sense of purpose extended beyond the military, inspiring civilians and leaders alike to contribute in any way they could, whether through supporting logistics, providing intelligence, or boosting morale. The entire population became invested in the fight, creating a groundswell of support that strengthened the overall resistance. The Scouts' continued adaptation posed an ongoing challenge as they became more aware of the Humvees' capabilities. They developed countermeasures designed to neutralize them, leading to a constant cycle of escalation, with each side striving to outmaneuver the other. For the military, this required not only innovation, but also an unwavering commitment to staying one step ahead. The stakes were higher than ever, and every decision carried significant consequences. Despite these challenges, the Humvees remained a cornerstone of the strategy. Their versatility and reliability ensured they could adapt to the ever-changing nature of the conflict, providing a foundation upon which other strategies could be built. Their role in the conflict was a testament to the power of resilience and adaptability, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could find a way to fight back. The legacy of the Humvees extended beyond their immediate impact on the battlefield. They became symbols of hope and determination, embodying the qualities that defined humanity's response to the alien scouts. Their success demonstrated that victory was not a matter of technology alone, but of ingenuity, perseverance, and the ability to adapt in a conflict defined by uncertainty. They provided a rare constant, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was always a way forward. The culmination of efforts involving Humvee units led to the most decisive phase of the conflict. The strategies developed through countless engagements were refined into a coordinated plan aimed not just at containing the alien scouts, but actively disrupting their operations on a large scale. Intelligence gathered from previous encounters revealed consistent patterns in the scouts' movements and behavior, providing a foundation for this plan. These patterns suggested that the scouts were focusing their efforts on specific regions, likely gathering critical data for an unknown purpose. The military's goal became clear: deny them access to these key areas and force them into a response. The operation relied heavily on precision and timing. Multiple Humvee units were deployed simultaneously across several critical zones, each tasked with executing specific objectives. Some units acted as decoys, drawing scouts into traps, while others focused on cutting off their escape routes. The use of terrain and environmental factors played a significant role as teams sought to exploit the scouts' tendency to prioritize efficiency in their movements. These tactics disrupted the scouts' operations, forcing them to react in ways they hadn't before. For the first time, the scouts displayed signs of hesitation and unpredictability, indicating that the strategies were having an impact. The scouts' response to these disruptions was swift and aggressive. They began targeting Humvee units directly, deploying tactics designed to neutralize their effectiveness. This escalation posed new challenges, as teams had to adapt on the fly to counter these measures. The decentralized command structure, implemented earlier in the conflict, proved invaluable during this phase. It allowed units to make real-time decisions without waiting for centralized orders, enabling them to maintain the upper hand despite the increased pressure. The flexibility and resourcefulness of the teams became the defining factor in this phase of the conflict. While the focus remained on tactical operations, the broader implications of the scouts' behavior were not lost on military leaders and analysts. The fact that the scouts had shifted their strategy indicated that they were not invincible. Their actions suggested limitations both in their technology and in their understanding of human tactics. These observations fueled a growing sense of confidence, as the possibility of a larger-scale victory began to feel achievable. However, this optimism was tempered by the knowledge that the scouts were still far more advanced and capable of adapting just as quickly. The most critical engagement of the conflict occurred when intelligence revealed a concentrated effort by the scouts to establish a foothold in a highly strategic region. This area, rich in resources and infrastructure, was believed to be central to their mission. The military launched a full-scale operation to prevent this, deploying the largest number of Humvee units to date. This operation represented the culmination of everything learned throughout the conflict. Teams coordinated their movements with unparalleled precision, leveraging every advantage the Humvees provided to disrupt the Scouts' efforts. Despite facing significant challenges as the Scouts employed advanced countermeasures that pushed the limits of human tactics, the Humvee units managed to hold their ground. They used a combination of mobility, firepower, and teamwork to maintain the offensive. The engagement lasted longer than any previous encounter, testing the endurance and resolve of everyone involved. In the end, the operation succeeded in driving the Scouts out of the region, marking a turning point in the conflict. This victory was not just a tactical achievement, but a psychological one, proving that humanity could stand its ground against even the most formidable adversaries. The aftermath of this engagement highlighted the importance of resilience and adaptability. While the conflict was far from over, the victory demonstrated that the Scouts were not invulnerable. This realization had a profound impact on morale, inspiring renewed determination among soldiers and civilians alike. The lessons learned from this phase of the conflict informed future strategies, emphasizing the importance of creativity, collaboration, and resourcefulness in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. The success of the Humvee units also underscored the value of simplicity in the face of complexity. Their ability to operate in environments where advanced technology failed highlighted a critical lesson. Innovation does not always mean sophistication. Sometimes, the simplest solutions are the most effective, particularly when paired with ingenuity and adaptability. This realization prompted a broader re-evaluation of military strategies and technologies, influencing not just the immediate conflict, but also long-term approaches to defense and resilience. As the Scouts retreated from the region, questions about their motives and capabilities remained. The data gathered during the operation provided valuable insights, but much about the Scouts' mission and purpose remained unclear. Analysts continued to study their behavior, searching for clues that might reveal their ultimate intentions. While the immediate threat had been mitigated, the possibility of a larger invasion loomed, driving ongoing efforts to prepare for whatever might come next. The legacy of the conflict extended beyond the battlefield. It highlighted the importance of adaptability, resilience, and collaboration in the face of unprecedented challenges. The success of the Humvee units became a symbol of these qualities, inspiring not just military personnel, but also civilians and leaders worldwide. Their story demonstrated that even the most advanced adversaries could be confronted with the right combination of strategy, determination, and ingenuity. The lessons learned during this conflict would shape humanity's approach to future challenges, both known and unknown. It was a reminder that while technology and power are important, they are not the only factors that determine the outcome of a struggle. The human capacity for creativity, resilience, and innovation proved to be the most critical asset, ensuring that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was always a path forward. The Humvees and the people who operated them exemplified this spirit, leaving a legacy that would endure long after the conflict had ended.